Brandon Arnold is the Executive Vice President of the National Taxpayers Union and joins us now. Brandon, keep in mind, where we had seen June numbers a year or two ago, it was in the 9 percentage points, so now coming down to 3. Definitely some positive news that inflation is headed downward. How do you read it?
Yeah, I think it's absolutely positive news, but we have to put this in context. And the fact is that inflation is cumulatory. So all of those price increases that have taken place over the past few years are still in place, and they're still getting more expensive. Things are growing in costs, things like housing, shelter, automobile insurance. It's not just things that we can maybe postpone or avoid purchasing, like vacations or nights out on the town. It's the core expenses that we rely on each and every day that are getting more expensive. So yes, it's good news, but in context, we still have a long road ahead of us to get this economy back where it ought to be.
And just a quick comment, too, if you can comment on the Fed interest rate hikes. If there's a certain percentage point that inflation hits, Jerome Powell, will he consider continuing to raise interest hikes, or does that cease?
Well, I'm hoping, they continue what they did last month, and that is hitting the brakes on these rate increases. And here's why. So many Americans have struggled during this recovery period, and we're starting to see that they're maxing out things like credit cards. People are taking on more debt than they ever have. The average credit card holder is now carrying $5,700 in credit card debt. This is variable rate debt, of course, in most instances. So as those interest rates climb, it becomes more and more of a burden on everyday Americans who have to leverage those everyday expenses by maxing out those credit cards. I'm really, really concerned about working class Americans right now. And I think that these additional rate increases, if they do indeed take place, are only going to make things worse for them.
Sure. Going to the grocery store is still expensive, and people sometimes choose to do that over going out to eat at those nice restaurants because menu prices are up. But maybe you're in the market for some fast food. We wanted to talk to you about this, Brandon. Chipotle now testing a robot that could prepare avocados to make guacamole. So the employees wouldn't have to do this. We saw Wendy's debut a robot at the drive-thru. What might this tell you about the future of fast food employment?
My hope here is, of course, that this will result in free guacamole for everybody. I hate the fact that you have to pay extra depending on what you order. But in all seriousness, I think this is the trend that we see. As labor costs increase, employers are trying to find other ways to maintain their operations without raising prices. Most of the time, they've relied on price increases. But here's the problem. Big companies like Chipotle can afford to explore these new technologies. Wendy's, McDonald's, the big companies out there can do so. But the small businesses, the local deli or tavern or what have you, they're not going to be able to employ this kind of expensive technology. So they are going to have to raise prices, and that's going to put them at a competitive disadvantage. So these high labor costs that we're seeing have a real world effect on small businesses that have been struggling throughout this recovery period. And things are only going to get worse if folks like Senator Bernie Sanders gets his way and tries to raise that minimum wage to exorbitant levels.
I mean, I would rather someone make my guacamole for me personally, because I like mine a little spicier. There's something magical that you can do with it. I don't know if the robot knows how to make it like I like. I'm just saying, guacamole is a big part of my dinner if I'm going out there to Chipotle.
You'll pay the extra fee.
I would love to.
Brandon Arnold, thank you so much for joining us today. Appreciate your insight.
My pleasure.
All right, take care.